What do you mean Moses Itauma is only 20 years old? Holy crap. That guy there has some hands. If you missed it this weekend, main event, he knocked out Dillian Whyte in only one round. What a performance from Moses Itauma. I'm sorry, I was not familiar with your game. That guy, 20 years old? 20. Everybody's comparing now. Okay. Let's start to. I'm excited because he's really cool. He does some really cool things. But there's some reservations we need to have about Moses Itauma. Yes, I'm excited. He destroyed Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte, a quality opponent. Not the best opponent. There's much better he could have. But let's rein in ourselves just a hair, just a little bit. He's only 20 years old. Dillian Whyte stood no chance. Like from the outset, he stood absolutely not a shot at beating Moses Itauma. That said, he's only been 6 rounds twice. Everything else is round 1, round 2. I need to go back and find those round 6s. I want to see what he looks like later in a fight. Because you look at his record, first round knockout, first round, second round knockout, first round knockout. That's a liability, guys. That is a liability. Like, Tyson Fury says Oleksandr Usyk beats him. Or he beats Oleksandr Usyk. He's the future. If you watch the video Tyson Fury talked about, first of all, Tyson Fury, A, makes it about himself. Look at all the belts I've won. And then B, doesn't include himself in that conversation with the Anthony Joshuas and the Usyks and all that. And I understand what he's saying. He's saying something along the lines of Moses Itauma is going to be the next future of boxing for heavyweights, British heavyweights specifically. But we don't know enough about him yet. Think back to the Usyk fight with Derek Chisora, where Chisora was like just barreling ahead, his hands down, just wailing on Oleksandr Usyk. We learned a lot about Oleksandr Usyk that night as a heavyweight. Derek, I'm coming for you, you know? Think back to that fight. Like, Usyk looked not great against Chisora, of all people. Moses Itauma hasn't had that yet. And what happens when he finds somebody that's like going to work the body? Or someone who's going to be tougher than a Dillian Whyte? Remember Joe Joyce? Do y'all remember Joe Joyce? I mean, he's still active, you know. But Joe Joyce was once the boogeyman of the division. Okay? Beat Joseph Parker. Takam knocked out Daniel Dubois. Like, he was scary. Now, I will preface this by saying, like, Moses Itauma is a better boxer than Joe Joyce, period. Like, Joe Joyce is just a clubber. Moses Itauma is like an actual boxer. And he has some real good, we're talking about his skills in a second here. But he ran into Zhang Li, knocked him out in 6 rounds, then knocked him out in 3. Just from being tough. What happens if Moses Itauma fights Zhang Li? You know, I think Itauma wins that, sure. But what happens if he fights Zhang Li? Who can take him deep, who hits the body? What happens if he fights a Achik Caballel? You know? What happens if he fights Caballel, who literally only hits the body? Like, how far does he go? How well does he survive? Does he hold up? Because Joe Joyce didn't hold up. And now you've got Joe Joyce having lost 4 fights to Zhang, Derek Chisora, and Filip Hrgović. I like Filip Hrgović, but Joe Joyce shouldn't have lost to him. Shouldn't have lost. So, what happens if Moses Itauma, you know, even though he's technically better than Joe Joyce with his skills, what happens when he gets taken out into deep waters? It's a thought it's something we should think. And when they're matchmaking, now obviously this isn't like they're going to match make him favorably up until he gets a shot at a title, and I don't think he ever fights Usyk, honestly. Usyk should, like, aim for that, especially, like, right now. Get him into an interim title shot and go get him, because Usyk will work him over. I don't care if he's old. I don't care if Usyk's old. The distance is my biggest concern with Moses Itauma. Now, his skills are great. First of all, southpaw, so a long left hand to the body. He does a really good job of jabbing, jab, double jab, and then throwing a long left to the body. And what he's trying to do is get Dillian Whyte and whoever he fights to lower them hands so he can come back up top with a left body, then a right hook to the body, or right to the body and a left hook up top. That's what he wants to do. Or the uppercut that he caught Dillian Whyte with. That's what he wants to do, and he does a good job of it. But he doesn't have enough time to get it done. Like, he's just finishing everybody before he can put his game plan in place. I want to see what kind of a game plan he puts in place. But he did. He hurt Dillian Whyte, went to the body a lot, and eventually caught him with an uppercut, and Whyte stumbling around the ring. Really cool, the finish. He boom, pulls a hand trap down, which is kind of dangerous, but if your guy's just covering up, you know, if you pull your hand trap, you're literally extending your hand and pulling it down, pulling the opponent's glove down to make an opening. But your hand's not protecting you, so, like, think back to Anthony Joshua being knocked out by Dubois not long ago. Over the top, boom, dead body on the ground. But he does it quick. You know, kind of uses the jab and pulls it down and gets it back up. I like that. But I do think we need to slow the roll with Moses Itauma. I want to see how he does against Adjit Caballero, a Daniel Dubois, Philip Hrgovic, Anthony Joshua. We'll see how he does with someone who's literally been 12 rounds in the hardest fights in the world. Like, remember, Joshua went 12 rounds with Usyk. If Moses Itauma can go to 6, 7, 8, round 10, and then finish like an Anthony Joshua, who's washed, by the way. Anthony Joshua's beyond wash. Then I'd be more along the lines of, okay, this guy is the future. He's promising. Yeah. But is he the future? Not quite yet.